And the latest claim regarding Tucker Carlson, that he was physically attacked by a demon, is one of those moments that tests both our cultural curiosity and our willingness to take unseen items and claims and to take the unseen in general seriously. You see, to the secular mind, it sounds absurd. To the religious or the spiritually inclined, it could be the latest evidence that the battle between good and evil is not metaphorical, but real. To Carlson himself, it was neither performance nor publicity, it was trauma. And that's precisely what he said. In the documentary Christianities, directed by Scooter Downey and hosted by John Heers, Carlson recalls that he was asleep beside his wife and 4 dogs when he woke up gasping for air, covered in blood, with claw marks running down his sides and ribs. He says he was physically mauled. Mauled by something he said that was unseen. His wife and dog slept through it. When he reached the bathroom and turned on the light, he saw streaks of red down his body. Quote, "I don't care if anyone believes me," he said later. "I know what happened." Now, on the surface, Tucker Carlson's account reads like a scene from a Gothic novel. But it's also deeply human. A man describes a terrifying night, a physical injury without clear cause, and a sense that the natural and supernatural somehow collided. For Tucker Carlson, it was not merely a bad dream, but a spiritual confrontation that changed his worldview. He told interviewer Megyn Kelly that it happened the night after he felt an unexpected rush of empathy towards someone he deeply despised. He called that earlier moment beautiful and profound, saying it must have been from God. And the next night, he said, came the opposite: darkness, pain, and fear. Now, to believers, the sequence tracks with ancient Christian narratives: enlightenment followed by testing. Scripture describes demons as opposing forces that attack when faith deepens. Carlson himself quoted Ephesians 6, which speaks of, quote, spiritual forces of evil in the heavenly places. Now, seen through that lens, his experience would be an affirmation, not some kind of a delusion. But there is also a psychological way to interpret it without dismissing him. Night terrors, hypnagogic hallucinations, and episodes of sleep paralysis are well-documented phenomena that can produce the actual sensation of being physically assaulted by unseen entities. People often wake up unable to move, gasping, convinced that something is pressing on their chest. In some cases, individuals scratch or injure themselves during the panic. Now, none of this makes the experience less real, less obvious to the person enduring it. It merely offers one possible layer of explanation, not as a dismissal, but as merely explicative. Now, Tucker Carlson's telling, however, isn't just about physiology, it's about meaning. He has long been a storyteller, weaving moral and political lessons into personal narratives. This time, the story carries no overt ideology. It's raw, existential, and what stands out isn't his fear, but his transformation. He said the attack left him with an overwhelming need to read the Bible, to understand love, to make sense of unseen realities. In his words, quote, "It completely changed my view of the world." Now, critics such as Dinesh D'Souza and Mark Levin mock the episode, suggesting it was either some kind of delusion or a calculated stunt. But others, including writer Rod Dreher and others, defended Carlson's sincerity, saying he told them privately about the event long before speaking publicly. Dreher himself, a religious conservative, asked what Carlson would gain from inventing such a story that invites ridicule. And the answer, it seems, is nothing. And that gives the claim at least some credibility in motive, if not in evidence. Now, the documentary's creators, John and Peter Heers, are Orthodox Christians who operate on the fringes, some say, of traditional church life. They've warned of globalist agendas, vaccine conspiracies, some say, and demonic forces in modern culture. Carlson's alliance with them naturally fuels suspicion among mainstream observers. Yet the partnership also reveals something about the current moment. A growing appetite on the right for spiritual frameworks that explain political chaos. The line between theology and ideology is, in fact, dissolving. In that sense, Tucker Carlson's story transcends his own biography. It mirrors a national mood. Many Americans, left, right, and otherwise, feel an invisible hostility pressing on them, a sense that something larger and darker has taken hold of the world. Some call it anxiety, some call it evil. Carlson's experience gives that unease a face, or at least a kind of a metaphor. Whether one believes in literal demons or not, he articulated and spoke the dread millions quietly feel. And at the same time, this language of demons has been politicized within perils of evangelical and Pentecostal Christianity. Rhetoric about demonic forces now overlaps with partisan speech. Preachers have referred to Democrats as possessed and elections as spiritual warfare, and opponents as agents of darkness. Tucker Carlson's story, intentionally or not, lands in that charged context. It risks being absorbed by a subculture that already sees politics as apocalypse or apocalyptic. Now, the clinical challenge here is, of course, separating the man's genuine mystical experience, if that's what in fact it was, from the cultural machinery ready to weaponize it. His claim can be respected without endorsing the actual ideology it might feed. In psychological terms, such experiences often occur at moments of transition, stress, or deep reflection. Tucker Carlson, months before losing his Fox platform, was publicly wrestling with faith, censorship, and his role in shaping opinion. In that crucible, an episode blending dream, fear, and revelation would not be unusual. The appropriate response, listen, is not mockery, but curiosity. What does it mean for one of America's most famous broadcasters to interpret trauma through a spiritual lens? What does it say about a culture in which mystical language now competes with political rhetoric for dominance? And what does it reveal about a society where traditional religion is declining, but supernatural belief is rising? Clinically, my friend, Tucker Carlson's story aligns with what psychologists call a numinous event, a powerful encounter with what feels like the divine or the demonic that reorders one's perception of reality. These events, described by figures from Saint Teresa of Avila to Carl Jung, often carry both terror and transcendence. They can lead to spiritual renewal, creative transformation, or psychological crisis. The outcome depends less on the event itself than on how it is integrated and how it is combined afterwards. Tucker Carlson appears, it seems, to have integrated it through faith. He says he now reads Scripture daily and views empathy as evidence of God's presence. Now, whether one shares his theology or not, that shift marks genuine change. The experience produced humility rather than ego, a desire to understand rather than to preach. In that, there is something redemptive. Now, there is also danger, of course. When mystical experiences are filtered through media platforms, they become content. Every headline about Tucker Carlson attacked by a demon risks trivializing what might have been a deeply personal, actual reckoning. It becomes entertainment. Yet the deeper lesson remains, even in an age of algorithms and cynicism. The spiritual imagination persists. People still look for meaning in the unexplainable, in the inexplicable. And Tucker Carlson's story sits at that intersection of faith, psychology, and spectacle. It may forever remain ambiguous, as such events usually do, but clinically, compassionately, the right stance is acknowledgement. Something happened to him, something real, something that left him shaken, searching, and changed. Whether demon, dream, or divine metaphor, it reminds us that every human being, even the most hardened pundit, remains vulnerable to mystery. And mystery, in any era, still commands our attention. Think about this, my friend. Think about it very, very carefully. It's a subject which has fascinated me since I was a child. What do you think? Thank you so much for watching. Please like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit that little button so you're notified of live streams and new videos. And I put a series of questions afterwards. So please, if you would and you could, comment as you see fit.